This video is for Stage 7 Informative Explanatory Writing, focusing on the Categories organizer. This stage is a crossover stage. The reason why it's a crossover is because it's a paragraph. It's a well-developed paragraph, but for the 2nd and 3rd grade manual, as well as for the 4th through 6th grade writing manual, the students need to have access to paragraph writing at this advanced level. Since both books have Stage 7, I will give the page numbers in your books that you need to start from to go through this video. If you are in grades 2-3, we'll start on page 182 in your manual. If you're in grades 4 through 6, in your manual, we will start on page 156. On this starting page, you'll notice our chant. Whenever we're about to introduce a lesson to the students, we always want to start off with telling them what we're going to do in the lesson. The chant gives them an overall understanding of all the parts of the writing that they're going to learn. In this case, we're going to learn the advanced informational paragraph, that it has an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. When you're on this page, make note that this is an advanced paragraph, or it could be the beginning of multiple paragraphs, 3 paragraphs. And we'll discuss that all throughout this video. This way you can differentiate with all the students in your room. Some may need to stay at that paragraph level, some are ready to move on to multiple paragraphs. And one of the problems when we move to multiple paragraphs is there tends to be a jump from 1 paragraph to 5 paragraphs. What you'll see here is that we're going to have that in-between point where we have 3 paragraphs instead of jumping to 5. In our chant, we're going to show the kids that there's an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. In the introduction, we're going to have a hook, and then we're also going to have the topic sentence, and we're going to use SS Lightbulb as our secret formula for that. As we go to the body, there's 2 different ways, 2 different organizers we need to choose from in order to organize the details in the body. What we always have to ask is, do the details need to be in order, or they don't have to be in order? If they don't have to be in order, then that's going to be the categories. If they do have to be in order, then we need to have the sequence organizer. And we have our hand signs here as well. Finally, in the conclusion, we're going to repeat the topic sentence. So we will use S Lightbulb as our secret formula, and on the bottom, end it with a snap. Repeat the topic sentence using different words. S Lightbulb means we're just going back up and we're taking that subject and the big idea, and we're repeating that in our conclusion, but trying to come up with different words to say the same big idea. And the snap, that's an interesting way to end your writing. The hook is a way to pull in the reader, to get them interested in the topic. This is our Stage 7 chant for a paragraph. Introduction, body, conclusion. In the introduction, we hook in the reader and introduce the big idea. That's what all the information is about. Body is full of details, details, details to tell all about that information. And they can be organized in categories, whole to part, or a sequence, beginning, end, what happened in the middle. Conclusion, repeat that big idea, but use different words and end it with a snap. There's our chant to introduce all the parts to our paragraph. When the children are ready to have more than 1 paragraph, when they're ready to go to 3 paragraphs, then we just adjust and say, paragraph 1 is our introduction. Paragraph 2 is the body. Paragraph 3 is the conclusion. And we just go back and we point that out to the students. On the facing page, what you will find is a at-a-glance direction sheet for you, the teacher, to follow throughout the lesson. This way you can quickly walk through all the steps and have all the needed information to help the children write at this level. Notice again, you're going to have your introduction, step 1, you're going to write SS Lightbulb. Please note we are not starting with the hook and snappy ending. We're always starting with the SS Lightbulb, the big idea. Then we're going to the body. In the body, you will see our hand-signed and organizer for categories, hand-signed and organizer for sequencing. We have to decide which organizer we need to use to organize the details for that big idea. Once we have the organizer, then we're going to label the organizer with the ideas. So not only do we have the organizer here, but we're going to put on the organizer our ideas. That means we're going to quickly put keywords or pictures for each one of the details. Once we have labeled our organizers with keywords or pictures to represent the different details that we want to tell about the big idea, then we need to start writing those details. And that's where we're going to have our S light bulb or our definition statement to start a detail. S light bulb is who or what is the subject of our detail. The light bulb is, put a D in that light bulb, what detail about, and the light bulb is the big idea, what detail about that big idea are you going to tell about in this sentence? The definition is only if you have vocabulary that you need to define for your reader. So you'll put that in your detail area as well. Expand the detail. This is a very critical point at stage 7 when we talk about expand details. In previous stages when we expanded details, we basically were just expanding the sentences themselves. Now, this expand details where we describe, list, or back it up. So basically, am I going to describe a detail, list, tell more about it, or back it up? Give an example. Describe, list, back it up. When we expand our details, that means that we are either going to expand the one detail sentence or add more sentences now. So expanding no longer just means at a sentence level. It means that we could have 1 or 2 more sentences that expand on this initial detail. Or it could just expand on that sentence. Expanding now means at the sentence level, or it means that you can add sentences. And finally, we have our conclusion, and that's where we're going to have our S, light bulb, subject, big idea, repeat with different words. That's in our conclusion, but notice also down here in our conclusion, we show the hook and snappy ending. This is where we're going to plan our hook and snappy ending. Once the whole paper has been completed, then we go back and we add our hook and snappy ending so that they actually can kind of connect together, but also so that the children realize that the hook is not the topic sentence. Sometimes when they write the hook first, when they're planning their paragraph, they get confused and they always end up writing that as their topic sentence. So I like having them write the hook and snappy ending at the end, and then they pull it all together. Here's our informative explanatory writing steps for you, the teacher, to follow with all of your key information there for you to utilize during the lesson. Let's now walk through all the different pages for Stage 7, Informative Explanatory, showing a sample organizer. If you're in the 2-3 manual, you'll start on page 192. If you're in the 4-6 manual, you'll start on page 166. Here's our brainstorm page. In this classroom, the students were studying different types of predators. They had brainstormed many different types of animals that were predators, and then they chose this one about an owl and its body parts and how it used its body parts in order to capture its food. This was one part of many different types of predators that they had been studying about. We pulled this from the brainstorm to use as our starting point to help them write their paragraph. If this is the beginning of the year and we're brainstorming this information, we would be doing this together as a class. Later, as the year goes on, the students in table groups of mixed ability students could have butcher paper and brainstorm in small groups. And finally, as the year goes on, they could be in partners or independently on their own, putting a brainstorm page together of all the information they know. Once they have the brainstorm page, we need to follow the steps. How do we put together all of this information to create a well-developed paragraph or 3 paragraphs? What happens is that many times we have students writing about different topics, plus we're trying to teach them how to write, and it becomes too confusing. So at the beginning of the year, we're all going to have the same subject so we can learn the steps. Make sure you have your steps mounted up on the wall for students to follow. Instead of making your own chart, you can download your own 8.5 by 14 colorful chart that we have on our website, And you can mount that for the children to follow the steps. So we have the chart that you would have posted. The students have their Brainstorm. And now I'm going to show you the different pages as that Brainstorm turns into the paragraph organizer. And on those pages, I'm going to show you the tools. And it's important that I show you all these tools so you can see how they're critical in the development of a paragraph. Everything we do here is going to be a metacognitive activity. You're trying to show the students what they're supposed to do when they're writing an informational paragraph. And why is that important? Because it doesn't matter as much about, in this case, an owl being a predator. What really matters are these steps. Once you learn the steps, you can write any type of information. Let's go to the facing page. On this page, you will see an organizer, a blank sheet of paper that had a line put across the top and a line on the bottom, so that we had our intro on the top, body in the middle, and our conclusion on the bottom. In the introduction, we have our SS light bulb, our secret formula for the topic sentence. Once we had our secret formula for the topic sentence, how owls have different body parts they use to catch their prey, then we had to look at, this is our topic sentence. How are we going to organize these details? So what is our topic sentence talking about? Different body parts. If I'm telling you about body parts, do I have to put those in a certain order to tell you about the body parts? Or they don't have to be in order? Oh, they don't have to be in order. So if they don't have to be in order, that means that I can group them in categories using the Categories organizer. Down below, you'll see, here's the hand sign for the Categories organizer, and here's a sample organizer. What we're going to do is use the hand sign, and the hand sign is going to tell us how many boxes in the middle, how many different details are we going to have to tell about the different body parts that an owl uses to catch its prey. So our hand sign is whole to part. What's the whole? All the body parts it uses to catch its prey. Now we put our hand down and every finger is going to be a detail. So name a part. So we have their eyes, their ears, their feathers, and their talons. How many parts are we going to use? 4. So if I only put 2 fingers down, then I would only have 2 boxes in here. If I put 3 down, then I have 3 boxes. We put down 4 fingers, so now I have 4 boxes. That is important. We don't want to say to children, oh, you have a topic sentence and 3 details. That's not true. The details are supposed to tell about the topic sentence. So you need as many details as there is in order to tell about that topic sentence. That's why when we do whole to part, we're counting how many, so then we can put the correct number of boxes to represent each detail. After I put each box here, what did we do? We drew a picture, or we wrote a keyword to represent each one of those details. So we have our ideas quickly put down on this organizer. Immediately you want to go to that idea. I'm not forming a sentence. I'm just saying, oh, I'm going to write about eyes. I'm going to write about the head. I'm going to write about the feathers, the talons. We're drawing or writing keywords to quickly label what each one of these details will be about. There's our introduction, our topic sentence, and right here is the body, our details. And what tool did we use? We used our category organizer, and we used the hand sign for the categories as a memory device to help us understand how to make and fill in this organizer. On the next page, here's our same exact organizer, but now we have a focus on our details. So let's go up here and review again. On the top, we have our introduction. In the middle is our body, and on the bottom is our conclusion. We've already done our big idea. We labeled our details, but now we want to form our details, start forming them into sentences. Notice below here, we have our start details and expand details. When we are writing our details, we want to look at this idea. Okay, what am I talking about? The eyes. So I go over here to my start details. This is how I want to help the children. What do we know about the eyes? What information are we going to tell about the eyes? And that's why we have S light bulb here to start our detail, because we're always going to look at who or what, that's our subject, when we ask this detail. Who or what is this detail about? The eyes on the owl. Okay, let's think about the big idea. What is it that we're talking about? The different body parts they use to catch their prey. What detail are we going to talk about here? The eyes. So the subject is the owl's eyes. What about the eyes? What information am I going to tell you about the eyes so that you understand that they use them to catch their prey? S is for subject. Who or what is the subject of this detail? The owl's eyes. The light bulb is, what's the big idea about the eyes that you want to tell about the owl? So this is the detail that you're going to say about the owl's eyes. What big idea are you going to say? What detail will you say about the eyes here? Oh, I'm going to talk about how they're big and round and they can see at night. Excellent. From there, we decided that we were going to talk about the owl and how its eyes were big and round and it could see at night. Let's go to the next detail. In this case, we are talking about the owl's head. What about its head? So what big idea, what detail am I telling you about its head? How it can swivel so it can see. Excellent. Let's go to the next one. Who or what are we talking about? The owl's feathers. What about the owl's feathers? What are we telling you about the owl's feathers? Oh, how they're hollow, how they have fringe edges, how they don't make much noise. Excellent. Let's go to the next part. The talons. Who or what are we talking about? The owl's talons. What about its talons? That they're sharp and curved and they can pierce and shred animals that they catch. Excellent. So we have our details here. Next thing I need to do is I need to ask, do I need to expand on the details? Do I need to add transitions? So we are either going to expand on these as sentences or we're going to go back and add second sentences to expand. Go to the next page and you'll see that we decided to expand by adding second sentences, not by adding to the previous sentence. And we then added transitions to those different sentences. How do we do that? We went and said, all right, let's look at this first detail. What does the owl have? Big round eyes so it can see at night. And then what did we talk about? It used those eyes to spot the speed, the size, and the location of the animal. Then we went to the next big idea. We were talking about how he could swivel his head, and here he could see animals even behind him. So we were adding more information. In the top box, we were explaining what the owl's body part was, and in the bottom part, we showed how they use it to catch the animal. This is how we expanded, and we ended up having 2 sentences for each one of those details. Finally, on the bottom, we have our subject, big idea, where we were repeating the topic sentence but using different words. Notice below that, this is the reverse part of the organizer. This is where the children are now going to turn their page over, and on the reverse part, they're going to plan their hook and they're going to plan their snappy ending. Why am I doing that on the reverse side? Because now I can have them actually look at their hook and their snappy ending and try to make them connect together, almost like a bow that wraps up this paragraph. In this case, we started off with hoo hoo, so we had a sound effect or onomatopoeia. Children love doing that, and it makes the beginning of their paragraphs interesting. Then we asked a question. The question that we asked was, why do owls have the reputation for being wise? These birds should be known for their hunting. So we had a question, and then we had a demand, where someone was taking that question and telling you what you should think. So we had a question, and the question dealt with something about an owl that everyone, when they talk about an owl, what does an owl represent? Wisdom, somebody who's wise as an owl. So they took a pretty common phrase, put it into a question, and then they demanded what now this information is going to tell you about how they're really a mighty hunter. So we planned this for our hook. Then we went to the bottom and we had the challenge is on. We had an exclamation where the students were exclaiming to their audience a challenge. And now we're going to say this night hunter needs a new title, Mighty Hunter, Not Wise Owl. And at that point, our exclamation is a challenge. We have all the parts of our paragraph, Our children are at this point need to read their hook, flip their paper over, orally rehearse their topic sentence, their details, their conclusion, turn their paper back over for their snappy ending. In this case, if students are writing a very long hook and a very long snappy ending, then you could go to 3 paragraphs. Let me show you what I would suggest that you do. After we finished our hook, then the students would go back up to their organizer and they would have a red pen and they would put all of their periods, capitals in place on their organizer. Students have their graphic organizer with their capitals, their commas, their periods in place. Students are orally rehearsing their papers. I will have them write their paragraph down. They start with their hook, they write that down, big idea, details, conclusion, turn their page back over to the other side, snappy ending. And there's 1 paragraph. But notice this hook and snappy ending, these are pretty long. This is from a student who is much more advanced. They're not doing just a very short hook and snappy ending. Instead, they're actually writing a well-developed hook and a well-developed snappy ending. For students at this level, I have them take out a yellow crayon or marker. They go to the hook and they put a yellow line there. That means indent. So when they're going to write and they see that yellow line, they're going to start with their hook, they're going to indent. Once they write their hook, they turn their paper over, they'll write their topic sentence. When they go to the body, they're going to have a yellow line here. That means that when they start the body and write out all these details, that will be another place for them to indent. And finally, at the bottom, when they get to their conclusion, they will indent there, write this conclusion, turn their paper over, and finish up with the snappy ending. So you will notice 1, 2, 3 paragraphs for those students who have more than 1 sentence for a detail and have a well-developed hook and snappy ending. Otherwise, they can just keep this in the 1 paragraph format. Now, let's turn to the next page so I can show you a 1 paragraph format. On this next page, you'll see you have our checklist up above. So when the students finish their writing, you can use this checklist to go through and see what's the content and organization, how should their paper be organized, what content should they have on there, how their sentences should be written, what should they have included, and as well as the mechanics. It's a wonderful checklist that you can use for their paper. Down below is our finished organizer that has all of the information, the punctuation, everything is included on that finished organizer. Jump to the next page. Here we have a student sample of a paragraph. We have the night hunter. Here they have written out their entire paragraph. What I want to show you is this student needs to have a hook and a snappy ending. And they have a tough time. They were just making it at this level where they had 2 sentences per detail. So they were expanding their sentences so that they had more sentences. But when it came to their hook and snappy ending, it was getting to be a little too much. With a student like this, let's put hook and snappy ending here. They have their topic sentence, they have their details in the middle, and they have their conclusion. So you want to tell them that you've expanded on your details. You have more than 1 sentence per detail. You're really showing me that you have that advanced paragraph look. Let's just try to interest your reader. Let's go back and see if we can add and end your paper with a hook and snappy ending. So for our hook, what sound effect could we make? So we come up with hoo, just like an owl sound effect. And finally, at the end, we could do hoo, to connect them together. So the owl sound effect, hoo, and then ending the paper, hoo, could be a cute way to start and end the paper just to make it interesting. Not at all is it a well-developed hook. This student could go back and add that hook and snappy ending and get started at developing, just at a very simple level, a way to pull in and leave the reader with something interesting. The big part of this paper was adding extra sentences to each detail. That's what I was more concerned with. Later, I could go back and start with just a simple hook and snappy ending. The previous page, we had a student who actually had a very well-developed hook and snappy ending. So notice, I could have many different students at different levels in my room who are writing 3 paragraphs, some who are at a 1-paragraph level, some who are at a 1-paragraph level who are just focusing on expanding those details and maybe later adding a hook and snappy ending, or may have expanded the details and beginning to have just the focus of more of a hook and snappy ending. There's all these different ways that you can differentiate with students at this stage 7 level. And that's critical for you to understand because you want to start pushing students to multiple paragraphs, but you don't want to push students who aren't ready. To have that multiple paragraph, you need to be able to expand those details into sentences, and you need to add that hook and snappy ending that is a well-developed hook and snappy ending. That's stage 7, informative explanatory paragraph, or paragraphs, 3 paragraphs for students who are ready, using the categories organizer. At this stage 7, we have a well-developed paragraph or 3 paragraphs. The paragraph or paragraphs are going to have that hook, a topic sentence that is going to tell the big idea of the paper. The body is going to have details that we want to focus on expanding by drawing, listing, or backing up. That's where we're going to expand. We're going to give more information. Draw. Do I need to give a description? List. Do I need to add more information? Tell how, why, what else, when, where. Do I need to back up this detail with an example? Finally, we're at our conclusion where we're going to repeat that big idea, but use different words and end it with a snappy ending, an interesting ending. Our next video will be stage 8, which will also be in the 2nd and 3rd grade book and the 4th through 6th grade book, because it will still be a paragraph, or it could be 3 paragraphs, but it's the description organizer. And that means that we have to use a different stage because the topic sentence, the body, and the conclusion are done differently than what you saw here at stage 7 for categories and sequencing. I hope that you enjoy this video. Please follow the steps, go back, and use this with your students so they can write well-developed paragraphs or start making that jump to the 3-paragraph level.